we're going to race. Right, so welcome back to the part 2 of this episode, and we're going to get this CBR back together. It's been quite a few days now. I've been waiting for parts, but I can't get any of the steel plates, not in a reasonable amount of time, not ones that I would call good quality or what I would be willing to put in this bike. So genuine Honda ones are going to take over a week to come from now, so I ain't waiting that long. But what I did have is these ones, which came out of another CBR125, one of the race bike engines. So I'm going to utilise these because I measured them with my micrometer and they're within tolerance and they've cleaned up okay, so we're just going to use them. It's a road bike, it's not a race bike, so I have ordered a set of Honda ones. I'll keep them as spares, but for now we're just going to use these because this bike's got to get on the road and from behind my house, and the lad's got to have it back. So let's get it done. So what we're going to do, well, I've arranged everything out and I'll bring you around here to see. Right, so what have we got? Well, we've got our steel plates, and I like to make sure these are good, but I stack them all together and I try and wiggle them and I look to see if any are deformed, and they're not, they're okay. We've also got this part, which is part of the clutch basket. It all goes together, and you want to inspect these meticulously, especially down these edges, because these are where the teeth of the plates ride. So you want to get a plate, make sure it goes on there, hold on, like that, and then you can see where the edges are polished where it's been sitting, and just hold it and see how much plays there, and if we're satisfied. So you can see here where the edges are polished, and that is where the wear is occurring, and this one's really good. You also want to take note of the friction surface here where the plate's going to ride on, make sure it's not chewed up or damaged. Inspect it well, have a look at that surface there and the splines. Moving on to the outer basket, I call it. Now there's a lot going on here. I know it doesn't look like much, but there's a lot going on here. So the actual friction plates, teeth, they go into these grooves, and the top one then goes into this groove. So all the other ones go here, top one goes there, and they can wear quite badly along these edges areas, so you want to inspect all of them. Also, what I see everyone forgetting to do is this is actually a spring loaded component, so I don't know whether you can see that. So that's to cushion the drive as you're taking it up as you let the clutch out. So in the back here there is a spring on either side, and so you want to make sure that's all nice, and it is. And then you want to observe all these gears here, or these teeth on this gear, sorry, not gears, or the teeth on this gear, and make sure they're all in good condition and not worn, and they are. So then moving on, we've got this part, and you need to just make sure you have a really good look at everything. Have a look at where the friction surface is. All these little teeth that key up into the plates, you want to have a good look at those and make sure they're all in good condition, and they are. And observe the threads for the 4 bolts that retain it, they're all in really good nick. Now we've got 4 new clutch springs with they're EBC ones, so they're 15% more tension in these springs, which will make the clutch lever slightly heavier, and then it will make the clutch bite a little more aggressive, because it will be clamping the plates together 15% more than standard. So we've got those. We've got our retaining bolts that hold the springs down with the aid of this plate, which the thrust bearing sits in, like that. So that sits in there, and that's all lovely. I've checked all that. So we've got that, and then we've got our washer and our special nut that holds it all together. So let's build up the clutch pack. we've also got our friction plates sat in my wife's crumble dish. Right, so we're going to start building things up here. So let's get some organisation going on. Remove the brake cleaner, keep my pointer. We'll get the clutch things. Right, can you see? It's a bit difficult trying to run around and look and do this everything on my own, but we're getting there. Right, so we've got our main clutch basket. Let's get them out of the way for now. And then, so we've got our main clutch basket with our spring loaded back, and I've washed these and checked them and made sure. So we drop him in, and that goes in there. And then the first thing to go in is a friction. So we'll take one of our friction plates that have been soaking in oil. We don't want to get too much oil everywhere, and we'll pop that in. Right, so now on these there's no specific way around these go, but on some bikes there is, so you need to check it out. And then we'll put a metal in, and then we'll put a friction in, and then we'll put a steel in, metal, steel, whatever you want to call it, and then we'll put a friction in. Get in there, you, in there, and then a steel, and then a friction plate, and then a steel. Beautiful. And then, as you can see, I've been stacking them up here, but the top one will go there. That's the way they work, and that's it. So now they're all together. So now we'll take our inner part and we'll locate that over the holes, and then we just got to get it to go all the way through like that and lock in. And they can be awkward sometimes, so we need to make sure that's locked in. So we'll just pull it up and make sure, see how it works? Can you see that? So when I put the springs on and the plate, it's going to pull them up together. Oh, it'll push it apart, but you know what I mean. It'll do that. So there we go. Right, I'm going to clean my hands and I'll bring you back in a minute. Right, hands cleaned. Let's move that out the way. Right, now, so what have we got going on? Right, so we need to put our 4 springs on there, like so. And then we've got this plate. Now, this plate holds the thrust bearing, or what would be the thrust bearing in a car. So it is a thrust bearing, so we're just going to call it that. So that is the bearing there, and this is the plate, and it locates in this plate, and as you can see, there is a shoulder there. So you want to make sure that that shoulder accepts that bearing that way so it can push on it. So you want to place it on that way. So there's a dot on there, and that dot wants to be facing you like that. So there we go. Right, so when you build it up, you can see there's dots on here, there's dots on there, and there's dots on there, and they're all facing me, so I know it's going together right, and I can start putting the bolts in. With these bolts, I don't put any Loctite on them. Honda never did. You don't need to. I've seen people drown these fuckers in Loctite and tighten them way too tight. It's not necessary. Doesn't need to be like that. So let's get it together. And you will have to push down slightly. It takes a bit of effort to just get these new springs mounted on, because they are 15% harder to push down, and that's it. So there we go. So everything's going nicely there, and we can get our 10mm, and we can just start just start running them down gently and keep the plate even. That's the name of the game. Keep it all nice and even. You don't want to wind one all the way up. You want to keep them even. You could use a little impact gun for this or something, but I don't like it. I prefer to I use an impact gun to put the clutch on the end of the engine, but I just prefer to use a spinny bar. To do it. Whoops. Right, so we're getting down there now. I'll just nip them up on here, and then when it's on the bike I'll tighten them up again. So basically that's our clutch pack now, all in one, held in, locked together, and yeah, marvellous. There we go. It's just like that. It's just dead simple. And then when you push down on the springs, and the drive's going through it, when you push down on that, it will then release the clutch, so you can get your not semi-permanent, so you can get your non-permanent neutral from your clutch to change gear or select gear and set off or come to a stop. So that's what it's all about. Happy days. Right then, let's crack on. So I'll put it on the bike, then put my bearing in, and then put my cover on, and we're all good. Right, so I'm here now. I've used a sufficient amount of brake cleaner to clean this. By sufficient I mean all of it. And then I'm going to remove this gasket now, clean it all up. I've already checked the plastic gear that drives a water pump, which is very important, and I've checked the impeller on the water pump, which is important, and the water pump housing. One of these bolts, just so you know, has got a copper or aluminium washer on it because it goes into the water pump housing. So you need to remember that and make sure it goes in the right one. You need to check this seal because that nub there's a nub on the end of the crank that goes into that seal. So you've got to check that seal is good, which it is. And now we can just clean the gasket off, clean the engine up, put the clutch pack on and bolt it all back together. So happy days. Just so everyone knows, this is not a how-to video. This is just me doing what I do, the way I do it, and it might work for you, but it's not a how-to. So that's all cleaned up and ready to go on. And sometimes I see people tempted to put the cover over the water pump before they fit it. Don't do it, because you want to be able to just turn that and spin it to make sure it's positively engaged with the other gear. Otherwise you'll break the plastic gear on the back of the water pump because it's only nylon or plastic or whatever it is. So right, let's get the clutch on and then we can put it all together and put oil in it. Right, so the clutch is on. Sorry about the light, I'm doing my best. I've got the gasket on the clean cover, the engine's clean. I'm going to poke that pipe out the way and pour water everywhere. Great. And move that one up out the way a bit because I don't want it. And then I'm just going to literally slide the cover on. On you go, on you go. Right, so we're up there now, so now we need to be concerned about, there we go. See how I just turned that a fraction and she just fell into position. Start them all off by hand. Make sure they're nice. I've gone slightly backwards. I've got the cover back off. And for all you that were paying attention, can you guess what I did wrong? What was my instant mistake? Well, I put the cover on without putting the thrust bearing in. So that was good. But before I tightened the bolts, I just checked the lever to see if it was operating okay, and then immediately realised that I'd left the thrust bearing next to the crumble dish in the kitchen. So with that said, let's put it back in. Beautiful. And now we can put the cover back on again. The cover's back on and the water pump's back in, and I've just got to tighten some bolts up now, so I'll just run them in with my impact. I won't give them, I'll do the final by hand. So 10mm, 8mm. Don't need to be mega tight, just nipped. That's the one with the washer on that goes into the water jacket. And there's a cover back on. So clutch cable on, adjust the clutch, water pipes on, put oil in it, put water in it, and we're cooking on gas. So let's get the clutch cable on in the terrible light. And it's harder to push now because it's got the heavier springs in. Is attached here, there is an adjuster there. There's also adjustment on the handlebars, and you want to get it so it's just a slight bit of free play in the cable, and then it engages. So there we go. Right, so I'm going to blast the water pipes on now onto here and then fill it with oil. So she's going to take a lovely high quality 1040 for 4-stroke motorcycles, not just 1040 for cars, because whatever people tell you, it's not the same. There's different things in car oil as to what there is in motorcycle oil, because obviously the clutch is in this. So don't put car oil in your motorcycle, it's not good for it. It's not good for the clutch. There's detergents and bits and bobs in it that will really upset your clutch material and make things not cool. So right, that's on, that's on. We need to get some oil in it. We need to make sure it starts, operate the clutch, and then we need to put coolant in it. So I'll start it up briefly with no coolant in, and then when I'm satisfied the clutch is operating, I'll then put coolant in it. Right, so we'll take this is the dipstick and the fill tube, or the filler, not the fill tube. These only take 1 litre of oil, so that, and you got to be careful you don't lose a rubber O-ring off the end, because it tends to screw down the threads of the doody there, the lid, and then of the dipstick and filler, and then you lose your O-ring and you add it. So these take 1 litre of oil. So we'll bang 750ml in it and then we'll check it. And dickhead has forgot to put, I'm rushing, forgot to put the sun plug in. God almighty. Today is not my day. What a dick. What an absolute fucking... I'm rushing because the lad wants his bike back, so I want to get it done. What a fucking clown. But I did say I wouldn't hide anything from YouTube, so you see me. I forgot to put the bastard blinking release bearing in, and now I forgot to put the sump plug in. It's a 17mm, it's dead straightforward, new washer going on and everything. It's because the job's been so fragmented with waiting for bits and getting bits and bobs done, and then moving the bottle out of the way and then trying to film it for YouTube, and it's just, it's broken my brain. So don't over tighten it, it's only bloody aluminium. The last thing I want is to strip the threads in that now. Put a brake cleaner on there. Right, I will test this bike thoroughly before my mate's son has it back. Just doing this, you know. My son's mate even. Right, so let's put some more oil in it. What a dick. What a clown. I can't even believe that even happened. I can't believe it. I've got to believe it though, because I just did it and saw it happen. First, I've never done that, you know, ever before. Never, ever, ever. What a bloody idiot. Right, what have you got here now? She's just starting to register on this. I have to get some more oil now, won't I? Bollocks. Right, I'm back with some more oil. 1040 motorcycle oil. Best you can afford. If you can't afford anything, just make sure you spend on good oil. Don't put shit in your stuff. You know? Make sure you put the sump plug in. So annoyed. Right, she's just coming up on the stick now. You've got to be careful now because I don't exactly know how much is in it. You don't want to overfill it. How annoying. Right, what am I doing? Right, stop waffling and get your head back in the game. Right, engines, getting oil in it. Yep, it's halfway. Halfway. It's easily done, people. Don't judge me. Can't even. Bang on the mark, that's perfect. Right, thank God for that. Not overfull, but just right. Right. Just because I'm totally paranoid. Yep, that's good. Right, I need to tidy up and gather my thoughts. I need a cup of coffee because that was just very, very foolish. Very. If it don't fit, don't force it. So we'll just fire her up and have a listen and operate the clutch. Nothing falling out the bottom. The little 125 is running again. The clutch works. I've got coolant in it and she's running up to temperature now, which is good. I'll let her run up to 90 so the fan cuts in, and while I'm doing that I'll just put the sprocket on this back wheel. Right, so I've got this cheap enough sprocket from MM Motorcycles, Wrexham. There they are. and we've gone for a steel one because they just last a lot better than the aluminium ones. We're not going for lightweight, it's not a race machine, it just needs to last a long time, so that's what we're going for. So it's on there now. Go, right, so I can put the back wheel in now, put the front sprocket on and get the chain in. So she's up to temperature now, the fan's cut in 3 or 4 times and I'm satisfied. So I'm going to draw this video to an end. I'm going to stick the back wheel in, but you've seen me do that loads of times. The next videos that come up are either going to be of the van or of the race bike. So if it don't fit, don't force it. Thanks for bearing with me. Please like and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. It's finished, but then when I tried to free the back brakes up and put the back wheel in, that happened. So we're going to have to get some brake pads tomorrow, and then the CBR will finally be done and we can move forward with our lives. Right, so I thought I'd recorded me doing this, but I totally cocked up. So I've just had to shorten the chain slightly using a chain breaker, and I'll show you how it works. It's a cantilever effect, I suppose, and you open it up and you bang your jaws onto it, and then you just tighten it up like so, and it pushes the links out like that. And the tighter you have to push, because of the way it works, the tighter the jaws grip, and then it just pushes the links out. So now we've shortened the chain because it was a few links too long. We can now put it on the bike. Right, so I've put the front sprocket on loosely with its little clamp and bolts. I've got my freshly shortened chain here, and I'm just going to thread it through, and then hopefully I've got the wheel all the way forward, so it's all the way forward, and then we'll just put a rag there to let the chain lie on, and we'll feed it through. We want the wheel all the way forward to get the maximum amount of adjustment on it, because it's a commuter bike, it's not a race bike or anything, so we want it to be well adjustable, shall we say. Right, that's going on there. Pass it back through the frame, being careful not to get my nice jumper dirty, and there she blows. Right, so we're going to use the split link again in this one. So we've got it here in the bag. Let's get our rag out. There's the split link there. I know a lot of people moan at you for using them. I'll be honest, I've never had an issue. If you maintain them well, there's nothing wrong with them. Bugger. The split link's been put together. Let me get a pair of pliers. Back again. And as always, we've got a chain from M&M Motorcycles of Wrexham, because they're just fantastic. So there's 3 pieces to this. We've got the first piece there, goes in from the back. That's the way she likes it. I'll get our chain. There we go, and we can put a little plate on. Now, it's not a mega expensive chain. Put that the right way around, make sure. But it's good enough for what we want. These kids, they don't look after their chains or nothing, so there's no point spending an absolute fortune. Spend good money on them, but not stupid money, you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be stupid money. Right, I'll bring you back in 2 minutes. It's on, split link is in. I gotta put the pads in. If you look on most motorcycles here, it'll have drive chain, keep chain adjusted and lubricated, 30mm of free play, see owner's manual. So you just want 30, you know, once we're adjusted we want 30. If it's more than 30 it's flapping around all over the fucking show and that's no good. So we'll get 30mm of play in there, and you'll adjust that using the adjusters here. So we'll get that all sorted, we'll run them down and we'll get it all adjusted, and I'll bring you back. The camera was still recording but the battery had gone flat, so I put the rear pads in. I had to take the back box off to do it because it was in the way, or that can. The sprocket's on, it's all adjusted. There's 30mm of free plate in the chain, but that'll get more as the week goes by. As it's used, it'll stretch a bit, so then we'll have to have it in for adjustment. So we'll let him have it back for a fortnight, and then we'll adjust the clutch and we'll readjust the chain and he'll be ready to go then. Don't forget, lube your chain, keep an eye on things, stay safe. If it don't fit, don't force it.